Good morning, everybody. Had a quick little message today about kind of how this, let's see here. Okay, so in the past, you may have made decisions in your life based on very logical conclusions. If A, then B. And then typically B turned into some sort of action that you must do. So if I have a tummy ache, I'm going to drink a peppermint tea. If I'm unhappy with my living situation, I'm going to improve it. If my partner and I are not getting on, I'm going to take a communications training, or change my partner, or whatever. In non-dual awareness, this drastically begins to shift, and those same rules of logic don't really apply. And that's not to say that logic isn't at play, but the seeking pattern that was involved within that logic and that deeply embedded suffering within that role play ceases, and it transforms into a completely different kind of expression. The way that you relate to what's happening is no longer in that cause and effect framework. So now, when awareness begins to saturate a situation or a formation or an experience, and that boundary between cause and effect dissolves, meaning meaning life is no longer perceived in a cause and effect manner, shifts, meaning the shifts of a formation happen energetically. They don't necessarily happen in an external change of formations. And what I mean by that is when awareness touches a conflict or a appearance, then the shift happens within awareness. So because basically everything's coming in and out of its dualistic counterpart. You know, if this is good, then it could turn bad. If it's bad, then it could turn good, right? That's dualism. Right and wrong. Judgment. Good or bad. In a non-dual perception, that doesn't really happen. And time also doesn't really happen. So there's no difference between the awareness becoming aware of something and then it needing the validation of a formation changing. Like, it no longer really is reliant on that changing. So everything's happening in awareness. The entire play, the entire dream, the entire world of cause and effect is happening in the realm of awareness exclusively. So if I become aware of my stomach ache, if I have a stomach ache, for example, simply by the act of awareness saturating that stomach ache, the opposite effect of that occurs, meaning no stomach ache. So there's unity. They're always coming now. The energies are always coming as one expression, as one energy. So if there is poverty or lack in your life, oops, I have a phone call coming in one moment. So if there's poverty or lack in your life, simply by becoming aware of abundance, that energy integrates and unifies. You don't actually have to go like get a better job or make more money, although that could happen. But I'm talking about a different dimension here, or a different kind of perception, like not really a third dimensional perception. And I can't help getting into this quantum physics type of stuff just because this is what we're talking about here. This is what this is all about. A shift in perception. And living life from that lens of awareness. So hopefully that makes sense. These are not easy things to describe or express, but they're cool as heck. So hopefully you enjoy, you know, experiencing your life and being you. Because this is happening, you know, to you too, whether or not you're aware of it. Okay, it's just a matter of how you're relating to it and how you want to play that game. Are you going to play it from reality, or are you going to play it from that deeply embedded role play that encompasses so much suffering, so much excess energy, so much repression, so many ego-driven, separate-based dynamics. So many dynamics, based in separation. Just like 100 cars just passed me. There's like nobody on this road for like 10 minutes, and then like 100 cars just all went at one time. So yeah, if you have any questions about this, ask them, because this is some of the coolest stuff that I love talking about. Hope you're enjoying your day and having a good time wherever you are. Take good care. Bye. Hello, my friends. This is part 2 of Cause and Effect, and it's also a new day. Beautiful new day. So, in yesterday's video, what I'm basically saying is that everything is happening simultaneously at one time in non-dual awareness. So there's no delay between a subject and an object having an effect on each other, because that relationship has collapsed. And awareness becomes the singular saturation of all of reality. So ultimately that means that perception has shifted from a thought-based reality, which is cause and effect, which is time, that collapses, and it basically turns into no boundaries, no delays, no seeking. Because how could something that is everything be moving towards something in time? Okay, so how could there be a difference between what I say and how that makes you feel, for example? That's a simultaneous, seamless movement. A timeless movement. It's happening all at once. So, in a way, yesterday I was kind of referring to a very diluted, understanding of what that means in practical terms. Like, is any of this really useful in any way on the human and personal level? Well, firstly, there's no real separation anymore between human and awareness. Awareness encompasses the human, but it's not limited to the human and its behaviors and its games. So, oh, great. We're at my favorite spot on this trail, actually. I don't know if there's anybody out there that watches Outlander, but they basically, there's these rocks in the Scottish Highlands and in different parts throughout the show where they time travel. And every time I'm in this spot here with these rocks, I think of that, because it's kind of like that in the movie. They basically touch the rock and go back in time or back to their own time. But it's just this slice of rock here. So back to the whole practical thing. I think it's very practical to, it's not that it's you doing it, but I think it's very practical when the seeking patterns collapse. Because what we don't realize is that there's very concentrated pockets of energy that require a lot of, awareness to become very dense and become very heavy in order to maintain these separate dynamics and these structures. So if you're constantly pushing against something you don't want, like a stomach ache or a, bank account balance or a partner or a living situation, if you're using all that energy focused on this one formation and this one thought form, it's almost like the resistance itself is creating more resistance. And non-dualism doesn't need to do that, because it's referencing that energy going back into everything. So no longer splintering off into these timelines or into these like separate role plays and exclusively condensifying and living in those realms. It doesn't need to do that anymore. It has no use for that. It's recognized the exhaustion behind that, the waste behind that, what's the word when something's unnecessary, like the pointlessness of that. Like, it doesn't derive satisfaction from those games anymore at all. At all. So there's no need to maintain them. Awareness gives it all up. It gives it all up. So where are you holding on tightly with bloody fingertips, literally like pushing so hard against something to get out of something? Because this is what it's doing. It's always trying to push against it, which means it's trying to get out of it. Where are you pushing hard? And what happens if you let go there? Do you perish? Because that's what it's afraid of. It's afraid of annihilation. It's afraid that if it doesn't do that, and if it's not there, and if it's absent, then it'll basically be annihilated. Does that happen? Or do you become everything? I don't know. I can't tell you. You tell me. All right, that's the deal, yo. Thank you for another beautiful day together, and I'll see you soon. Okay, I'm back. I think I want to just say one more thing. I just want to tie in some of the Neo-Advaita perspective into this message. Do a quick snake trek here. I like snakes, I just don't want them sneaking up on me, basically. Okay, so a question that may come up is, I don't feel like that, and I'm trying to get there. So I'm stuck in this dualistic perception, and it's very painful, and I'm suffering deeply, and I want out. I want out. I want to get out of it. So again, you have this push against what's happening. And I used to do videos like this years ago, and they have their own value, or not their own value, but they have their own place in this messaging, because this is really a broad messaging that encompasses an extraordinary shift and consciousness. So it's hard to just talk about it in one way or from one perspective. I think all perspectives are good, and they're all valid, and they're all true in the context in which they're being shared, right? But the heart of non-duality is that you are what's happening. You are that seeking pattern, you are that resistance, you are that separation, you are that suffering. And for the I that feels separate, for that me that wants out, that's an insufficient message. And it's almost like very repulsive, because all that me energy knows is seeking, because it is time. So all it knows is its programs of how to get out of something and how to survive something. But in the heart of the matter and in the heart of non-duality, that's God. That's God doing that. That's truth doing that. That's freedom doing that. There's no actual confines in that. Whether or not you realize what's happening, whether or not the separate me dynamic becomes clear to you, whether or not your perception shifts, it's irrelevant, because what you are is untouched by these apparent movements in time. Okay, so my videos 6 years ago were all about that. So if you need to remember that, and you're getting stuck in this push pattern, in this tidal wave of seeking, I think Neo-Advaita is a good first step, right? But a lot of these messages at this point, they're really describing, what embodiment looks like. What does that recognition actually look like on a day-to-day experience? And so that, to me, is the movement from nothing into everything. That awakening and that embodiment is the gift that you offer to all of life. Your true self, that's the medicine. All these human things, we think that they'll have an impact on reality if you go volunteer at all these NGOs and, have this huge impact and this and that. And the truth is, your awareness is the greatest gift you can offer humanity. Your true being, who you are. So a lot of people on this path, they don't really have the urge to really go do anything. Because in that saturation of being, everything comes into harmony. Everything comes into balance. The balance that's already there is recognized. Okay? What else to say about that? So yeah, whatever's happening in your life, it's not happening to you, and it has no agenda for you. It's absolute love, absolute God expressing itself. There's no longer a need here to validate anything, to prove anything, to acquire anything. I mean, yeah, there could be some faint shadow of programming or conditioning that is ironing itself out, but that's irrelevant. It's not what this is about. This has nothing to do with that. The heart of this message has nothing to do with that. Okay, so I could keep talking. I could keep turning the camera on, but I will leave you with that. So, again, enjoy yourself wherever you are. Mwah.